Hey everybody, and welcome to Monsters Lounge. I figured out all my streaming stuff just in the nick of time.
Yay.
I did it. I'm Jeni.
I'm Tressa.
Hey Tressa.
Hi.
Hey, listen, tonight's show.
What's up?
It's going to be a little bit more serious, I think, tonight's show. Not by much, because I don't think we can do that physically. I think it would hurt us. But we're gonna have some interesting stuff going on. But our guest tonight is, and cannot stress this enough, she is a survivor. Bottom line, and the ultimate thing that I want to stress is that she is a survivor, and she's pretty rad. We got to talk to her a little bit before we started, and she just seems like a delight already. She's been through a massive amount of alien encounters and abductions. And part of what I really love about her story is that she uses these experiences and these things that she went through to help other people who have gone through the same thing and help them vocalize what they've been through and seek help for it.
That's our favorite thing.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Even with all of our shenanigans and all of our jokes, which are very important
and hilarious.
Because laughter and humor are the best things in the whole wide world and help everybody feel better. Mm-hmm. Maybe not all the time, but most of the time. We also, and I can speak for Tressa on this because I always speak for Tressa.
That's true.
She's just a puppet.
Yep.
We feel very strongly that stigma surrounding subjects is horrible and awful and very corrosive. And the best way that you can get rid of those stigma is to talk about it and be open and honest with your experiences. There's really no healing in any kind of hiding. So we're going to talk about some stuff.
Let's do it.
We're going to do it. All right, so our guest tonight, Karin Wilkinson, is the author of Stolenseed, Evil Harvest. She is a regular writer and contributor to L.A. Marzulli's monthly newsletter, Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural. Karin is a wife, mother, and grandmother. She worked in the software industry for many years before leaving to raise her family. One thing that she wants to impart is for as early as she can remember, she's been abducted by non-human alien entities, possibly hundreds of times. She's seen many UFOs throughout her lifetime and suffered emotional and physical ailments and had surgeries due to the things that they did to her. She only wants to utilize her experiences to share the truth, to help others in any way that she can. And will you help me please welcome Karin?
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you. Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm just honored to be here with two amazing, strong women. You guys are amazing. I've really enjoyed getting to know you in the short time that we have had together. And I agree with you. The sense of humor is sometimes the only way to get through some of these topics, because they can get kind of dark, and you have to remember to let in the light everywhere that you can and just keep it light where you can, because we don't want the conversations to stop. We want them to continue. And I love what you're doing. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. You've been, I started looking, and you've been having abduction experiences for as long as you can remember.
Yes.
So in you were saying hundreds, thousands?
Easily. Yes, easily. I mean, from my earliest memories, I mean, the actual abduction experiences where I can remember the kind of everything from the start to the finish when I was about 5 or 6 years old, when I was able to have those really concrete memories. But even younger than that, I was terrified of certain people, like in my father's family, because they were very tall, very blonde. They had big blue eyes, and they reminded me of these Nordics that I was already seeing so often and terrified of. And for those who don't know, Nordics are just one of the many races of non-human alien entities that I encountered, who they look almost human, but not quite. They have a lot of similarities and also a lot of differences. And so even as a small, small child, I was very, very scared of anyone who looked similar to one of the entities I'd been in.
Yeah, as well as anybody could understand that would be
Yeah, no one
that.
understood why at all.
Yeah.
No, there's no vocabulary for that. So, as a small child being taken, even when I did have more concrete memories of them actually showing up and taking me from what I thought was the safety of my home, what I thought was the safety of my bedroom, my own bed, which turned out not to be even a safe place. I didn't have the vocabulary to share what was happening to me because I didn't know who and what they were. I didn't have TV shows or podcasts or anything to refer to or books, and no one talked about these things. And even to this day, people don't want to talk about them. So if something's happening to a little child somewhere right now, they probably don't have the words to describe it either, or the correct words to tell someone what's happening. So, and I would say the little ones were coming to get me. They're bothering me. They're touching me. They're taking me. I'm floating. I can't move, things like that. No one understood what I meant,
Right.
and parents, to their defense, immediately are going to jump to a bad dream. Or if you're talking about, the little ones touching you, they're thinking of other kids or, exaggerations. And of course, if it doesn't fit into our paradigm, that's immediately where your brain's going to go because they also didn't have the vocabulary to handle it. They didn't have any knowledge or background in what was happening to me. So how would they be able to understand what I was talking about? Even if I could vocalize it better, it wouldn't have made sense to them. So it creates a very difficult paradigm for a child or an adult even today to deal with and to try to share with others because people don't necessarily understand or don't necessarily want to understand even today when we have so much more information available to us.
I would imagine so, and I would imagine that parents are still having that sort of difficult thing because, it's so mind blowing. And whenever we talk to people who have experienced anything within the paranormal, they always talk about there's that shift in their concept of reality, or, if it's confirmation or undermining or whatever it is, there's a definite shift, and to hear about that happening to your child, I would imagine it would just be something that's not quite, it causes some sort of like cognitive dissonance someplace.
Exactly. That's exactly the words I was going to use too. When you said that, that's what it made me think of. Yeah, it creates that cognitive dissonance. And so our brain just immediately rejects it out of hand because it doesn't fit and it's not comfortable. And we like to be comfortable and we like to be happy. And so when it's uncomfortable, we immediately try to remove ourselves from an uncomfortable situation. And so it just creates a very difficult environment, even like I said, even today. And that's why I try to encourage people to have these conversations so that it takes away some of the stigma and it makes it a more normal thing to talk about. I mean, heck, we've got, government agencies sitting down and talking about non-human biologics and crashed craft and people being taken. And they released a massive report in 2022, and I put it in the book about all the ailments and issues caused by people who were taken or exposed to these entities. And they released this report, yet no one wanted to talk about it. Still, so it's all out there. And even with them trying to have these conversations, still somehow the conversations are not happening.
Yeah.
Going back just a second to the parents and just trying to understand that their children are having, children aren't going to have the vocabulary because they're not going to be exposed to even the most delicate, most generic information about this stuff because it's too scary for them. Their parents aren't going to show it to them. And even I, as a very firm believer, my son had exploding head syndrome when he was a child, which I don't want to make this about me, but this is a good story.
Okay.
But let me go and make it about me. Here goes Tressa again.
It's all about all of us, so this is good.
Yeah. But he would wake up in the middle of the night and he would come out and he's like, "Why are you guys screaming? Every night you guys are screaming." And we're like, "We are most definitely not doing that." And I had to read up about what is going on. And because I was like, I don't know what this means. And it wasn't anything paranormal. It's like a sleep paralysis, but he audibly has these hallucinations as he's falling asleep. Yeah, and he thought that there were like loud crashes and a
Yeah.
screaming.
Oh,
And it
wow.
terrified me. But at the same time, it's like, I need to rationalize this because this can't possibly be something scary. I don't want this to be something
Yeah, right.
scary.
Yeah.
And like, I can see where parents are going to rationalize anything. Like, that can't possibly be what I think it is. I'm
Exactly.
going to make this safe for me because if it's not, it's going to terrify me. So
Exactly.
it's like, I'm not saying that you are doing this, but we
No,
can't like blame parents because it's
no.
so out of left
Oh, yeah.
field.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that
Exactly.
would
And I
be,
don't,
yeah.
yeah. And that's why I say that it's a double-edged sword, because if a parent becomes afraid, then how are they going to protect their child?
Mm-hmm.
If they
Right.
feel like they're afraid, then they're not feeling like they're standing up to the dangers. So if the danger doesn't exist, then they're not, it's just such a odd
Yeah.
paradigm to be in. And it's just something that there are no tools to deal with. I mean, parents today are given a certain amount of information about child predators and how to
Mm-hmm.
deal with that and how to protect their children. But you don't sit down and explain to your children the ins and outs of what happens to a child who's trafficked. That would be way too traumatic.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So you have to find that fine line of how much vocabulary you do provide, and how much information you provide within the safety of what their mind and their psyche and their hearts can handle. And that's a very difficult line to tread. So I don't ever blame anyone except for those that took me for what happened to me.
Yeah.
They are to blame. They chose to do that. I didn't choose to have it happen. They chose to take me against
Yeah.
my will. And so that's where if there is any blame to give, that's where it would lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you were blaming parents.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I just want to put that out there.
Exactly.
Like, we're scared too.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. As a parent and grandparent, I understand that. I'm, always terrified for things, and we try to not show that, but we do our best. And I think, every parent does their best to protect their children. And sometimes you just don't know what's going on and you can't. And the
Yeah.
child can't explain it, and that's what
Yeah.
makes it difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Now you touched on one of the species. We've gone with a couple of different episodes where we hear about a certain number, and we were talking about this prior to you joining us of how many do you think there are, how many do you think there are. I'm in no way correct in my estimation whatsoever, but how many sort of have you encountered? How many different species of these things?
That's a great question, and I get asked things in that, a lot of that, and I like that question because I think that's important, because I think some people have this idea that aliens and quote unquote non-human alien entities, anything that's not human, are marching off a little ship like Marvin the Martian, and they all look the same, and that's just not the case. The little gray, shorter ones that would come to take me from the time of my youngest memories, those do all kind of look the same, because I believe those are more like an avatar, like a meat suit type of thing, for lack of a better word, that are created to house something, whether it's another entity, whether it's AI, whether it's demonic entity. There are a lot of different schools of thought on that. Pretty much anything we say is speculation without the actual information in
suit,
front of us.
yeah.
But I can tell you what I have experienced, and I write a lot about what I experienced with them and what my thoughts are on that based on personal experience. But beyond those, then the rest of them, they're all very different. And I think there could be countless different types of entities, because like the more normal grays that I would encounter when I was taken, they were all different heights. They had different their faces looked different. They had different facial expressions, different face shapes, different features, different heights, and different weights. And some looked more feminine, some looked more masculine. Then there were the type that looked more reptilian, and some of those kind of looked more like a gray than a reptilian, or more like a reptilian than a gray, like there was almost a crossover. And those, the reptilian types were generally very huge. I mean, they were big and muscular and hulking. And I had one that I write about that was with me my whole life, who was like my handler, and he was very big, muscular type.
Oh wow,
dude.
okay.
And they all look different too. If they didn't look like the same thing. They weren't all the same, like something from a TV show. They were all different. And then there were the Nordic type that I touched on earlier, and those all looked different. They had similar features, and that a lot of them had this almost translucent kind of hair, which kind of seemed to me, depending on where they were, almost took on the color of what was around them. And that's why I think it's more translucent than a blonde, because it kind of picked up the colors and the shades around them, which was weird. So almost prism-like at times.
Oh.
Yeah, and their eyes are really big, like probably twice the size of ours. I'm not good at percentages, but
Do math. Do math now.
Do math right now. Yeah. Thank you. Next question. So yeah, they were, and then they're the type that were the insects kind of looking, and they were really different too. Like for me, I can't stand to look at hammerhead sharks because they have this similar head to what one of them looked like, and
like a praying mantis.
Uh-huh.
I didn't even think about that.
And things like that. There are certain animals and species of things that I just don't like. And praying mantises, because they're so small, they don't bother me in general, because I love all creatures and animals anyway, and I try to be kind to all the animals and stuff. And I just have a big heart, and that if something, is somewhere, I try to catch it, put it outside instead of, but that's just me. But in general, yeah, if something reminds me of one of them, I'm usually just like, ugh, I don't like that, for reasons. But I like little lizards, but the type that were reptilian didn't look like the little lizards in my backyard to me either, so
what are your views on cicadas? Because I hate them so much right now.
They're very loud, and they annoy me in my garden. But other than that,
not a fan. Right here,
not a huge fan. Yeah, not a huge fan. But no. So that there were just so many different types of them that I can kind of group them into what I think are some little groupings. But beyond that, they just seem to kind of blend from one to the next. Like I couldn't tell. I wonder if he's if it's a he or she, or if it's a gray or reptilian. I can't tell, and they obviously weren't sharing that information with me. They weren't very forthright with information.
I can't imagine name tags were a thing.
No, definitely not. Hi, my name is, Fred, and I'm a reptilian crossed with a gray. That was not on the agenda when I was there.
It's always Fred.
Yeah,
Fred, man.
I know.
That's like their
always Fred. It is.
Yeah,
it's an easy go-to. And I've had friends named Fred, so I think it's a great name, but it's a fun name. Excuse me, my allergies are terrible tonight. But so yeah, that as far as the number of species, there could be any number. It's there could be untold numbers from what I can tell. It's just impossible to tell. And for someone, I don't think anyone has that information accurately anywhere. I don't think anyone ever really will. That's one of my questions for God when I get there, is I want to know all about all these different things.
Heck yeah,
it's on my list.
I've got my list drawn up. I get it. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can't even get surveys of people, right? Much less.
Exactly. and we get so crazy about who's what, and I'm like, we're all people. So So that's all I have to say about that one. But yes.
Yeah. Now, did you get different vibes from like the different ones that you noticed? And was that specific to kind of the species, or was it just kind of all over the place, different vibes from different aliens?
Yeah.
She wants to go to commercial.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, I'll keep that question in my head, and I'll write it down, and we'll answer it when you come back.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
The Oregon Bigfoot Festival and Beyond is back and bigger than ever at Oaks Amusement Park, Saturday, June 29th. Meet Bigfoot hunters like Ronnie LeBlanc of Discovery Channel's Expedition Bigfoot and Paranormal Caught on Camera, and paranormal investigators like me, Dave Schrader of the Holzer Files and the Paranormal 60 podcast. Join us for a day of family fun celebrating Bigfoot, ghosts, UFOs, and everything beyond. You never know what you'll find. Don't miss the Oregon Bigfoot Festival and Beyond, Saturday, June 29th at Oaks Amusement Park. Get tickets today at OregonBigfootFest.com. OregonBigfootFest.com.
The Oregon Bigfoot Festival. Oregon Bigfoot Festival.
Now, back to the question.
The question. And you had asked me if I got kind of different vibes from different
Yeah.
types of species. And that's a great question. It really was kind of all over the place. So none of them seemed to particularly like me or any of the other abductees that I was there with. But there definitely seemed to be sort of this air of disgust from the Nordic type that I noticed. And what I noticed with the Greys is that they seemed very cold, almost like they didn't, almost emotionless, but they responded to my emotions. Not in a way that I would have wanted, but if I was upset or crying as a small child, they would put me into a sleep state or put me into a calm state by touching my forehead or running their hand over my eyes, not because they wanted me to be calm, but because I could tell it was annoying the crap out of them. Pardon my language. But, so for a lot of it, I really felt like I was just a means to an end to them. And so if I was doing something that annoyed them, there were consequences for my actions. But as far as, there was always just enough to kind of keep me on the hook too, as far as I got older, making sure it wasn't completely unpleasant at times so that I felt like I was a part of something and was more cooperative. I can only compare it to, I try to explain it, and I explain it a little better in the book, to kind of the grooming process from a very young age, where I was taught to be a part of what they were doing, to behave a certain way, to respond a certain way. And it's like in an abusive relationship when, they'll give you a gift to kind of keep you around, just, here, I love you, here's a piece of jewelry or a box of chocolates, and then the next thing you know, you're getting backhanded. That is the closest thing I can compare it to for me, having been through both. That there's just this sense of it's just enough, but it was as a whole extremely unpleasant, and the things that were done to me were extremely unpleasant. But the vibes from like the reptilian that I was with most of my life, and I call him my handler, were generally pretty good because I had just developed this relationship, this kind of Stockholm syndrome relationship over the years, where I had sort of an affectionate relationship towards him. So there was a lot of give and take in that. But the rest of them, I would have to say the ones that were the most aloof and withdrawn and that I didn't have a ton of interaction with, and I was grateful for that, were the type that looked like the insectolan type, or that looked like like I said, the hammerhead type shark looking, or the praying mantis type triangular like faces. Yeah. They were the most aloof and kind of always like off in a corner or away from people. Almost like they were in charge, but again, I never got an org chart, so anything I say in that would be speculation, but they did seem like they were pretty smart, and like all of them seemed really intelligent. And like I said, I believe that we are dealing with inter and extra dimensional entities here who are far more intelligent than we are, far advanced of us, not something to mess with in general. I don't recommend calling on them at all. When I talk to people about that, just because, we're not equipped to, having spent my lifetime around these entities, I can tell you, we're not equipped to interact with them safely. I mean, you don't know if you're going to get a good one or a bad one. It's like, a robber or a thief or a rapist or a serial killer does not walk around with a t-shirt telling what he or she is. They just lure people in and then they strike, and it's no different,
Okay.
If you're not sure what you're going to get, especially with something that's so much more powerful than we are, it presents a very dangerous situation to put oneself in. And having been around them, I can tell you the damage is real and the danger is real, and it's devastating. And I am really, really fortunate to be alive right now. And I have had a near-death experience and had many attempts where I've almost not been here. So I'm very grateful that I'm here and I get to continue to share this message. And I like to stress that because it is, we try to fit everything into this little paradigm where we live here in this earth, in our little space, and everything doesn't fit into our little box that we live in. The universe is much larger than we are.
Yeah. I mean, we can barely get people to fit into our little world. Like everybody should behave like this. And
Jeni's
Exactly.
always putting people in a box. She's like,
Listen,
you need to think like me. I'm Jeni.
I do. I like everyone in the same box. I'm going to tell you what to think. I'm not doing that. This is going to be terrible for my
You
reputation.
do not sound like that kind of person at all. I did not notice that yet. So, wow, am I bad?
She's besmirching my reputation.
I'm a liar, everybody.
Where are my pearls?
Right. Oh, it is good to bring light to it. It really is, because it can be scary, and it's important to share the truth and then to be able to laugh about it too, because if we don't, we will end up crying all the time, and crying is good once in a while, but not all the time.
Not all the time.
Right.
It's good. It's good to have a little bit of laughs. Now, you spoke about that you had been trained in piloting UFOs and taught certain scientific principles. And I'm reading that because otherwise I would just go, so wait a minute, about this flying the UFO. So was that sort of part of the, the gifting cycle of the abuse kind of scenario?
Definitely. It was a part of the whole thing, where it's like, you're important. We want you to be here. We want you to be a part of this. And this is something that we're going to let you do, and it wasn't like I had any control. It wasn't like I had any control over when they took me and when this happened and how it happened, but it was still presented as a bonus, as you've been a good girl. So you get to try to, you get to learn this, you get to try this. The teaching, the things that were taught to me were a part of the whole process as far as the learning stuff. I mean, it made school very easy for me. I barely had to crack open a book. Most things I just already knew. So, that was a bonus when it came to being back. But the emotional issues I was going through from such a young age kind of counterbalanced that, in a big way. There's no balance. But
there's not a good
right.
It's not a good trade-off, right?
No. But, there was a time where, I was, and I kind of tried to explain it earlier so it makes more sense, that I bought into the whole process. I believed a lot of the lies. I believed some of the propaganda, just as because it's easy to do when you're trying to justify the situation that you're in, especially when you have no control and you feel that out of control. And so I don't like to glorify what happened, but I absolutely do write about it and talk about it because it is part of what happened and it was part of my journey. And it's important to share, all of it, not just the parts that I want to share, but to share as much of it as I possibly can. But when I was allowed to do that, there were like these little ships that kind of come off of a bigger ship, and they almost come off like a soap bubble on the end of a soap bubble wand, if you kind of picture that. That's how they kind of pop off of there, it felt like to me. And so there were lots of these little ships coming off of a big one kind of out. And there was a chair back to back. There was another one behind it, and there was an entity of whichever type was in there, usually a gray, behind me in the other chair. And the chair was like, those kind of egg-shaped chairs that are like a half a circle kind of. It was kind of like that. And when I sat in it, it formed to my body. Sorry, my cat is talking to me in the background. So I hope
he's just participating in the interview. I understand.
She loves to be a part of everything.
She's got stuff to say.
She does. She's like, yeah, that's what happened. She goes, she's been around.
Like, I love those chairs.
Yes. A spinning chair. But it would form around my body and around my hands to the point where control was through the slightest movement of my body in my hands and through my thoughts as well. And then I had my co-pilot there who was really, also making sure, because teaching me and helping me and doing whatever part I wasn't doing, because I don't know if everything I was doing was all of it, or if I was just like a little kid getting to steer sitting in a parent's lap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have no idea. But, there were things around and controls and all kinds of stuff that I never touched, that no one ever touched, that I saw. But when I was in it, these ships, the big ones and these little ones that popped off, they all seem to be living. They seem to be alive. They all seem to be organic in nature and to actually be alive. And they would move the ships themselves.
Oh, wow.
And this sounds kind of crazy. They looked and felt and acted as if they were alive, like they were organic in some way.
Wow.
And I don't know how that works, because it's so far outside of what we have here. But, for me today to explain like screen memories, I can do it easily. It's like putting on a pair of VR goggles. But if I tried to explain that to you 20 years ago, it would have been really hard to explain, or 30 years ago, or 40 years ago when it was happening to me, or longer. So it's just, we haven't quite caught up, obviously, to where they are. You can see through everything from the top and the bottom and the sides and everything. It was solid, but it could see through it at the same time. It's so hard to explain how that works, but it allowed me to see through.
Yeah.
And I know we have these windows where you can see out, but no one can see in, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing it's the same kind of concept, but I don't know how that worked either. Again, I didn't get the directions, instruction manual. Everything I saw were symbols and words that didn't make sense to me, or that I could read instinctively, but only when I was there. And then, now I can't necessarily recall. Yeah. So everything is just so different, and outside of our paradigm. And I can, describe like that feeling of just being in it and flying was exhilarating and crazy and amazing and scary and beautiful all at the same time. But then, after that was over, then there were times where I was taken into a room and I was utilized to show. When I was taken, I should back up a little bit. When I was taken, often I would be taken, I would be kind of put into a sleep state and would wake up standing with whatever entities had taken me that time, the little grays, at like this bank of what looked like elevator doors. And we would get in these elevators that would just go down and down and down. And I just always remember, especially when I was little, being cold in these elevators. And then we would get on what I always call the sideways elevators that went side to side or up at an angle, down at an angle, and they would just change directions, really crazy. I mean, I realize now it was some sort of a high-speed transport, but when I was little, vehicles made a lot of noise, so I always equated them with another type of elevator that just didn't go up and down. We were clearly in some sort of an underground facility. And these facilities are massive. They were huge, bigger than any football stadium, airport, high school, all put together. There were just hallways and stairwells and rooms and huge rooms and little rooms and doorways and just more stuff than I could describe in the time that we have. But, and so whenever I was taken, sometimes it would just be, I would wake up on an exam table and they would be doing exams that I didn't understand what the exams were. They didn't take the time to tell me, but sometimes there would be big machines pulled over me that reminded me of x-ray machine type things, or sometimes there would be needles put into, like my chest or my abdomen area or my arms or wherever they were doing at the time, just looking at my back or looking at my eyes and just anything you can imagine. They looked in it or around it, And I see someone asked if I got an implant. I did have one that I know of that came out of my elbow. And I actually dug it out with tweezers.
Oh,
Yeah.
Over the sink. And as soon as I got it out, and it looked like about the size of half a grain of rice. And it was translucent in color, but looked like something black was in the middle. Mm-hmm. As soon as I got it out, it literally jumped and went straight down the sink as if on its own volition. It freaked me the F out. I was just like, I just wanted it out. So I was just happy. I know I should have tried to get, but I don't think I could have got it if I tried. And
Digging
it had
into your
come up,
arm
well, it
with
had come up to
tweezers.
the surface, and I could feel where it was. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, it's here. I can get this thing out, right?
Yeah.
And it was right it wasn't far in, but as soon as I got a hold of it, I was able to yank it because it was little and it was right
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
I know there's surprisingly few nerves in your elbow. It's not as gross as it sounds. I didn't
You know,
bleed.
I'm just imagining someone walking into my house like, why is Jenny passed out on the floor with tweezers in her hand and her elbow bleeding? Like,
I
that's
just wanted
exactly.
it out.
That's
You
our
know,
Jenny.
At that point, I had stopped them from taking me, and I wanted that out.
Yeah.
Now, there could be others all over my body. I don't know. This one, I just happened to, I felt it. It came to the surface, and I knew it was there, and I knew I could get it. And, well, I wanted to get it. I didn't know I could get it.
Yeah.
But I
No,
thought it
I
was
would
worth a
do the
shot,
same.
and so I tried, and I got it. Yeah.
I
And
would
it
get a
was just,
scalpel off of Amazon and make
you
sure
know
that
what?
thing was out of me.
oh, I thought
I would
about all
like-
kinds of ways, but
I would like
had
to think
be
that I
able to
could.
get a hole.
Because I pass out at the sight of my own blood. I hit the floor. I hit the deck.
Yeah.
So
Well, that would not have been something for you to do.
No, but I
God,
can
you have
appreciate the fact that you did it and that, Tressa, you believe that you could do it. Oh, wait, I know that you could. Yeah,
Yeah, you know that I could.
never
do it.
mind.
Yeah, I mean, you want
I'm
something
aware.
out, you just. So, and I know.
Did you ever feel it shift under your skin or in your
Ugh.
flesh?
Oh yeah, that's why I knew it was there because it was like almost as if it was like some kind of a worm or something in there. But it wasn't, you know what I
No,
mean?
thank you.
Sorry. I know that's a terrible reference.
No, it's perfectly apt, I'm sure. I just
Once I felt it move,
Nope.
I have a knife in my hand. I'm getting this thing out of me.
Well,
Absolutely
and
not.
it's not like it was there all the time. It's just, and it's one of those cognitive dissonance things where I'm like, no, I'm just imagining that.
Okay.
But when they stopped taking me, I think whatever it was kind of went off, stopped working or something because it came to the surface, and so much so that there was a bump, and so it was actually this elbow over here. That's I was holding the wrong one, but it was right in it. And so when that bump was there, it came so close to the surface that I was able to,
Yeah.
Anyway. I know it's pretty gross. I don't like to talk about it.
No, I mean, but that would make sense because in my head that would be something, say, an abductee were to pass or something along those
Right.
lines. Like you don't want that going through like the autopsy,
Right.
scenario.
Well, and
so
I don't say for sure that it was because I wasn't able to capture it and I wasn't able to have anyone look at it. So I think I had one and I think I got it out because, like I said, I don't have it. It went down the sink. So, you have to take my word. You can see where it came out. I can show you that. But other than that, I don't have it to prove it. But my friend Emil Jewick, he was patient 17 in that movie, but we don't want to talk about that movie because that was not good the way that went down. But he was in the movies from my friend L.A. Marzulli. So if you want to find out about him, watch the UFO abduction series by L.A. Marzulli. I'm in those movies as well. And you can see him actually have his implant removed from his leg. And they take it and they do all the tests and everything on it. And, LA paid to get all that done and take care of all that for him. And he's an amazing man, Emil. And it was really harrowing for him. And it caused him a lot of problems having it in there. Because they do affect your nerves and things like that. So, the implants are unfortunately not pleasant for most people who know they have them. But I think that there are a lot of them out there that people just don't know they have.
Oh, absolutely.
There's got to be, right?
Because I don't know how long that was in my elbow, but I didn't know it was there till it came up to the surface, and then I knew for sure it was there.
And guaranteed it was there for a long, long time.
Probably. Oh yeah, I have to imagine it probably been there my whole life, as far as I know. Because I don't ever remember having any kind of an entry scar, or not that that you would, but a lot of people will remember waking up with a scar. And like I have a weird mark on my back that I share a picture of in the book that showed up when I was little out of nowhere, things like that. Weird burns and stuff would show up. And so I was noticing these things, but I never remembered that one. So.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
We're going to take another break real quick, and we'll be right back.
Are you troubled by strange noises in the middle of the night? Do you experience feelings of dread in your basement or attic? Have you or your family ever seen a spook, spectre, or ghost? Then Haunted Magazine issue 41 might just be for you. In issue 41 we have The Enfield Haunting, an interview with Dave Schrader, Danny Robbins, and lots more. Out now in stores, app stores, and online at bit.ly/Haunted Magazine. Remember, don't be normal, be paranormal.
All right, welcome back. Now, you mentioned that you had talked to some friends about this. You talked to other experiencers.
Mm-hmm.
Getting sort of into the conversation about getting out of it and starting to talk about it and finding support for it. I'm assuming that that was just absolutely key for you to be able to be here with us right now.
Right.
Discussing this.
Definitely. I never thought I would be discussing this with anyone. I never thought I would share this story with anyone. But I had a near-death experience, which the experience in itself was beautiful, but what led up to it was extremely traumatizing. And after that, I had to do some PTSD therapy to deal with how it happened. And that therapy helped me learn how to deal with this lifetime of trauma that I have been dealing with. And once I started dealing with that, and at that point, I had really figured out already how to stop it. Then I was able to do something with it, something useful. Because I'm like, well, I've been able to stop it. Now I can deal with this. And, my husband knows, but I need to talk to someone else. And I was never going to tell him either, but through the therapy, I was able to share finally all of the things about me. And he's like, wow, now it all makes sense, So I went to L.A. Marzulli. I did not expect to. I really felt led to go to him. I did an interview with him. It became kind of the center point for the fourth movie in his UFO series on abductions. And from there, he asked me to write it, which I did. And that's how this book came to be. But after that movie came out and before the book, what I noticed was I was in a few locations with him when the movie came out, and people wanted to talk to me about it. And what they wanted to do, they were thanking me for being brave enough to share, and they also wanted to talk about their own experiences. And that's what I didn't expect, was that they didn't need a therapist, they didn't need a group necessarily, but what they did need was just someone they could share their story with and feel comfortable with and not be laughed at, and somewhere where they knew it was safe. And this just kind of organically turned into something that just kept happening over and over and over again. And so in writing the book, it's provided just another way to help to have these conversations with people. So everywhere that I go, I generally follow L.A. Marzulli's schedule. So if he's appearing somewhere, usually I am at that location as well. I'll meet people in person. We'll talk together. We'll pray together. We'll share together, whatever they need to do. People reach out to me through my website. I have a contact page. I do try to get back to everybody. Sometimes it's not as quickly as I'd like, depending on, where I am in the process. But just to be able to have a place to share and to know that it's okay. I mean, I've had people call, send me messages, texts or emails or what have you, and say, I just read the book. I feel like I just read about my life. I feel like you and I led parallel lives. I keep hearing that over and over. Yeah. And from women, especially with the missing pregnancies, this is something that is extremely traumatic for us as women when we lose a child. Not that it's not traumatic for the father as well, because it is, but for us, it's deeply personal on a whole nother level. Yeah. And so that's been something that has been really key in being able to share with other women about this and say, you're not crazy. I believe you. I know that this happened to me, and I believe you when you say this happened to you, and we can just talk about it, and it's okay to talk about it. And I just want this to be conversations that we can have. You know, a safe having, I think someone just said something about a safe place. Yeah, just having a safe space to have these conversations. When people think of a UFO abductee, they think of someone who's loony, who's crazy, who's in an institution, and that's just not the case. We look like your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your neighbor, your friend, your teacher, your pastor. It could be anyone. You know, it's and we're not crazy people. We are everyday people who have figured out how to look like we're living a normal life while we have this whole other life going on in the background. And we
It's a whole form of masking where
yeah, like you guys have had to overcome and be so strong in your lives. It's the same thing. You just have to find the strength to be able to continue to do the things that have to be done and to live a life, to love the people you love, care for and raise your children, whatever you have to do your job. You know, and for some people that's not so easy, and they don't succeed in that. They're not able to do that because these traumas are so great. It's just like any other trauma. It needs to be spoken about, dealt with, appreciated, acknowledged, you know, just to have people to have it in common with.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're working on trying to create some more formalized groups associated with this. And there are other groups out there that are already available, which I'm very, you know, aware of. And we're working on trying to create, you know, just as many avenues and outlets as we can to just to be there for people. And right now it's just, you know, if I can talk to someone, I'm going to. If I can be there for you, I'm going to. If you reach out to me, I will get back to you at some point, I promise. It may not be right away, depending on, you know, I've had some health things going on, and between that and crazy travel schedules, sometimes it might be a month. And I hate that sometimes it takes that long, but sometimes it will. But I am getting some help to keep up with some of the input that's coming in, because you know, sometimes it's more than one person can handle too. So, but it's just important that, you know, we be there for each other and we just listen. Sometimes you just need someone to listen. That's the most important part, and to believe you. Because I tell you, you know, these things happen. I have nothing to gain by sharing the craziness that happened to me in my life. This is not, you know, you don't write a book to make a bunch of money. That's not how that works. Trust me, folks. I don't do it. But that's a good thing I'm not doing it for that, because that's not why I wrote it. I wrote it because it was time to share. And I wanted, you know, while I'm still alive, I want to make sure I can share as much of this as I can, help as many people as I can, and be there for as many people as I can. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not offering any kind of professional advice. I'm just offering friendship and something in common, and to say, hey, you're not alone. And there are a lot of us out there, because there's no professional organization to deal with this. There's no professional medical organization to deal with this.
I know at one point in time, I think Opus was recommended.
Yes.
I know that we've talked to Les Velez from Opus, and just a tremendously nice man. Cannot get over how sweet and genuine that gentleman was. But yeah, he said that that's one of the resources, and that seems to be in every, like I said before, every time we talk to somebody who's been through anything paranormal, much less like these abductions.
Right.
It's, I mean, in my own life with the issue that I have struggled with in the past, you know, the connection with other people is key. You know, it's figuring out that there's an issue, knowing that you have to get some sort of help for it and with it, and then making those connections.
Right. And healing starts with sometimes just being able to say, hey, you know what? This is what happened to me. This is where I am in my life. And now that I can talk about that, now I can figure out what to do next. And I like that there are different kinds of groups out there, so that everyone can find kind of what fits for them, because it's not a one size fits all choice. You know, everyone's had different types of experiences, and I don't expect everyone to pick up my book and say, hey, this is just like what I experienced. It's not going to be the same for everyone. You know, my experiences are mine and yours are yours, and everyone has their own experiences. I only share mine because that's all, you know, other people's experiences are not mine to share. And and everyone has different needs. So, but I'm glad that there are different types of choices out there. But I do encourage anyone who wants to reach out to me. You can get to me through my website, KarinWilkinsonAuthor.com. You can email me. My email address is stolenseed@yahoo.com. I am happy and love to hear from you. And if you just want to share what happened, or you don't want to share what happened, but say, you know what, I've had some of these things happen. That's all I want to say. That's fine too. Whatever you're comfortable with. I mean, I just want to be here for you if you want to share that story, because I think it's important to know that you're not alone. That's the most important part.
100%.
Yeah. And on a serious note, if you can't reach out and get a hold of somebody, like, please contact Tressa or myself, via the website, via social media, whatever, and we will try our best to get you in touch with somebody.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Who knows better?
Yes.
But
Sure, you guys have
dummies.
so many resources now, the people that you've met, and that's what's so wonderful, that you're doing this because you're sharing, and that's what's important. I appreciate that very much.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
and
if that's
the
all
other
we can offer, because we're stupid. Like, yes, we will give you better resources if we.
All right.
Okay,
Anyway,
I'm stupid.
Yeah, there we go.
None of you
We'll
are.
go with that.
No.
And I love that you mentioned that you did mention the therapy. And did you do like the rapid eye movement?
No,
Okay.
but I've talked to a lot of people who have,
Yeah. Mhm.
and who love it and have loved it, and has worked very well for them. No, I did a different type that really worked for me. And,
Awesome.
More kind of.
They're
I
just
won't
doing
get into it, but
yeah.
we don't have quite enough time. But for me, it was instrumental
Amazing.
and helpful and amazing, and it was life-changing. And so, those types of things really do, there's different types that work for different people. And I highly encourage people to figure out what's going to work for you.
Absolutely.
If the first thing you try doesn't work, then go try something else.
Yes.
Keep trying. Don't give
That's the
up.
key.
Yes.
If you're a praying person, then pray about it. If you're a faith person, then do that. Whatever works for you, just keep trying. Keep trying. Reach out. We can share what's worked for us. Everyone's got something to share. Go to go to conferences where I am. You'll meet a lot of other people who've figured out different ways to get through it, and you'll find a way at some point. Just keep trying. Don't give up.
Yeah, and absolutely use your voice. Talk to people. Just whatever. Just keep trying, keep going, because as you're evidence of, there is another side. There is, you will get to, I know I'm saying the other side on a paranormal podcast, but that's not what I'm talking about.
We get it.
Not that other side.
There's the other side of that pain and that misery. I mean,
Right.
There's a lot of options and a lot of ways out for people.
There is healing, and you can have that. Yes.
Yes.
Well, we got to wrap this up. Is there anything else we want to try and cover real quick? 'Cause I feel like we haven't every week. We haven't covered enough.
Yeah. If anyone wants to find me, you can find me at KarinWilkinsonAuthor.com. The book is, if I'm at events, the events will have it there. Otherwise, it's available exclusively at lamarzulli.com. All those links are in my social media or on my website or on his website. So just go through my website or through my email address, which is stolenseed@yahoo.com. And I would love to hear from you. If you've got something you want to share, just reach out.
Thank you so much
for all of that.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm humbled by your time with me tonight. I appreciate you guys so much. You're amazing, beautiful, strong women. This has been a wonderful opportunity for me. Thank you. Well, it's true. Just take it.
Let's all run away to the ocean and rescue
Not
animals.
the ocean, but yes.
Yay! Baby goats for everybody.
Yes.
I mean,
baby
just
goats.
us, though.
Pygmy
but-
Love
goats.
baby goats.
See, everybody gets along on goats.
Yeah, because they're great.
For Valentine's Day in our neighborhood, there was someone who, your husband could hire someone to bring baby goats to visit you for Valentine's Day.
Shut
And I
up.
dropped that hint all over, and I was like, "Those baby goats."
Hey, do you hear about those baby goats? Isn't that
Hey,
crazy?
what about those baby
Yeah.
goats?
Wow,
Oh.
that boy, love goats. Aren't they great? I love goats.
Someday I'll get my visit with the baby goats, but
Someday, I believe in this.
Yeah.
I've got to play with baby goats before, so it's not like I haven't seen them. It's just,
But
you know.
still.
You can never play with enough baby goats.
I know, right? They're so cute. But Well, thank
We'll
you
make
all
it
again.
happen.
I appreciate you so
Thank
much.
you.
Everybody have
you.
a blessed night. Thank you.
Thank you so
I know
much.
you gotta go.
Thanks. Good night. Bye.
Everybody else, thank you so
been
much
a
for
delight.
joining us. Yes, and don't forget to find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the Paranormal 60 Network. Like, comment, subscribe, and check out our merch on our website, Monsters, what's it called?
Monsters Lounge Podcast.com, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's...
I'm trying to
I
make a
just-
measured and a thoughtful outro, and
That
still
was
be
great.
A little wacky,
It worked.
So
It worked really well.
Shut up, Jeni.
Listen, send me
Yeah?
baby goats.
Yes, send us baby goats or anything else you want to send us. We love talking to people. Isn't
We
that
do.
right, Jeni?
We love talking to people, especially on the social media side where we can actually read messages and I can pay attention to everything that's happening
Because we're bad
other
at chat.
than getting distracted by
So
guests
until
and then-
next time, thanks
Baby
for
goats.
visiting the Monsters Lounge.
Baby goats.
Bye, everybody.
Baby goats.